Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Through the Fire and the SBN Small Business Network podcast. I am your host, Ryan Wickline, and today we have a very, very special guest. She is a fitness and nutrition coach, Miss Allyson Hurley. How you doing today, Allyson?
I'm good, Ryan. How are you?
I'm doing great. So the number one question the audience is probably wondering right now, who is Allyson Hurley?
Thank you. So my name is Allyson. I'm a fitness and nutrition coach and the founder of Allyson Nicole Nutrition LLC. So I primarily work with women to help them with their fitness and nutrition goals, but ultimately sometimes it tends to boil down to any mindset challenges that we have. I do work with men. Primarily women are the people who come to me for help, and I'm an online coach.
Awesome. So I know your other job too that you do, which I found pretty fascinating. What led you to become a probation officer?
Yeah, so I love talking about this because people find it is very interesting. So I became a probation officer back in, I think it was 2012 was when I started. So I still do that work. I still do some case management. I'm in a different role now within the agency. So I do have a full-time job, and the online coaching is a part-time job. Maybe it'll be full-time sometime soon, right? I love that. But ultimately I wanted to help people, and I really liked the criminal justice side of things, and I found it very interesting. And so through my work in a case management role with clients in probation, I really found this love for behavior change and motivational interviewing and all of those same things that I now take with me in coaching.
Yeah, those two are kind of interconnected when you kind of look at it, aren't they?
Yeah, they're really, on the surface of things, people are always kind of like, there's no way those things are connected. But once you start really looking at what we do, so in case management through probation work, we're working with clients one-on-one to figure out where their motivation lies in change. And we'll case plan with them. So that's essentially coming up with goals that can be goals for their probation, to get off probation early, or it can be just personal goals or things that they want to work on. So we'll talk about developing steps, what it takes to get there, and we kind of help facilitate that change. So the biggest difference I would see between coaching with fitness and nutrition versus probation is those clients come to me and they want to work with me. We have different stages of change that come to us in probation, right? We have some folks who maybe aren't in a stage of change, and then we have some folks who are like ready to get it and change their life and do things differently. So with coaching, with fitness and nutrition coaching, fortunately, those people are already they have some motivation to change.
Yeah, that's probably a huge difference when you see one wants to change and some don't want to.
Yeah, I had a client a long time ago tell me that, like, no offense, Allyson, but no one wants to like see their probation officer. I'm like, well, that hurts a little bit. I can understand why, right? Like no one wants one of me in that role, so I can understand.
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
In 2020, you faced some challenges that led you to the health and fitness space. Can you explain those challenges you face?
Yeah, absolutely. So 2020 was kind of my aha moment or my pivotal moment where I really took a look at what I had been doing. So 10 years, at least 10 years prior to 2020, I had been pretty much doing everything I could to make my body as small as possible. And that included some pretty unhealthy things, including restricting my food or, trying to avoid certain foods, which ultimately always just ended up with me overeating on those foods because the reality is like I'm a sweet person. I love candy. So I was trying to avoid candy and I just end up going the complete opposite direction. And in addition to that, I was exercising a ton. Like I was running about 4 or 5 days a week. On top of that, at times I was also doing a boot camp class and also not really seeing the results I had wanted. And in 2019, I ran a marathon and that was great. If I were being honest with myself at the time, it was because I wanted to see how much more weight I could lose. And I didn't lose any. They, whoever they are, always say that you're not going to lose weight running a marathon. And I did not. But alas, I thought I could be an anomaly with that. So when in 2019 when I ran the marathon, and then 2020 when the pandemic happened, it really forced me to slow down. We were able to work from home during that time. So I wasn't able to go to the gym I normally went to. I wasn't able to kind of do all of the things I had been doing that were keeping me so busy. And I just had this moment because at the time I was also trying to do keto, and keto is very, very low carb. And I remember eating this cheesecake and having this moment where I'm like, I can't eat an apple, but I can eat this cheesecake. Like this, something is not like, this is not right. Um, and then after that, it was just this moment of like, what if I put all of the energy I had been putting into trying to change my body into just loving myself for who I was as I was, and completely, doing the opposite of everything I had been doing and just see what would happen. And that was really kind of the biggest moment of change for me, because at that time, in that moment, I had also committed to, for the next 3 months, like not stepping on the scale, not tracking my food. I was going to eat whatever the heck I wanted to. I was going to, one of the biggest things I did also in addition to that was I was going to start saying yes to things that I was saying no to. So things that I really wanted to do that I wouldn't do because I was scared or I was nervous, I'm like, you're saying yes to. You're not giving yourself that moment to say no. So those few key things are probably the most pivotal in that change throughout the next few months in 2020.
Man, I got a couple questions for you because
Yeah.
I love how you were unpacking some of that. What's your favorite type of candy?
Sour Patch Kids.
That's mine too. That's funny.
Yes. I'm not a chocolate person. I'm like a pure sugar, like Skittles, Sour Patch Kids. Those
Yep, the
things
sweet.
are my, yeah. Oh, they're my
Yeah,
jam. Love them.
that's my favorite too. Uh,
Yes.
so on that keto diet, it was telling you that you were allowed to have like a whole cheesecake.
Well, you could make it so it would be low carb, right? Because cheesecake's really just like, I had made the recipe. It was like a low calorie sweetener with um, cream cheese, all these things that were higher in fat and lower in carbs. So yeah, they're like, hey, that's okay, but an apple, too many carbohydrates, so you can't have the apple. That's crazy.
Wow.
Hmm.
So how were you able to shift your mindset and your daily habits to conquer your fear?
So the first thing again is kind of saying yes to those things I wanted to say no to. And, this is where my work in probation, I think, really benefited me, because another thing that we really work on a lot in probation, or that you'll hear the term, is we use cognitive behavioral interventions. And that's a super fancy term for just saying essentially paying attention to how our thoughts impact our feelings and then our behaviors. So because I had facilitated a lot of groups, like those skills really get they ingrain in you. You can't avoid them as a facilitator. And some of the things that I did using those skills was when I want to say no to something, I'd recognize like I was feeling nervous. And the only reason I would say no is because of those nerves. So that's when I decided to say yes. In addition to those things too, if I were having like a day where, we all have days where we don't feel good in our body, like maybe clothes are fitting us a little differently, or like we're just not feeling good. I would force myself, sounds kind of funny, but it worked great. I would force myself, if I was looking in the mirror and I'm like, oh God, your hair looks awful today, or whatever shame-filled statement I was thinking, I would force myself to say 5 good things about myself. Like, cool, your hair's not great today, but this is fitting well, or you ran this morning and your leg felt good. Like whatever it was, I would just make myself replace some of that negative thinking with something positive.
Oh, amazing. I love how you touched on that because that's one thing I was always taught too. For like every one negative thought you have, it usually takes about 10 positives just to counteract that one.
Yes, yes. Yeah, there's I can't remember the exact statistic that we talk about in probation, because that's something we even discuss in probation, is like we can't just focus on antisocial behaviors. We also have to focus on the good things that people are doing. And I think the ratio is 4-1, but if you got over to like 14-1, then it became disingenuous. So it was making sure to kind of, like you said, that 10, that like 4 to 10 is kind of the sweet spot. But yeah, we have to do that to ourselves too. We can't just say all these not nice things about ourselves and think they're not going to impact us.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So what made you go all in on yourself and become a health, fitness, and nutrition coach?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So after that had kind of happened, this also corresponded with a time in my life where I was getting pretty burnt out on case management. Um, and that started leading me into kind of thinking about how could I take the skills that I know in probation and apply them to something that I'm really passionate about. And it kind of also coincided with just the change that I had in myself. And it was like, I wanted to shout from the rooftops that you didn't have to do all these extreme things to maybe hit your goals or change your body in a way that you've always wanted. Like those things aren't necessary. Like the beliefs that I used to think, I see that I used to believe when I was struggling, I still see a lot of men and women holding those beliefs. And it's something I've become really passionate about, like wanting to change the narrative around what our thoughts are on that. So I started looking into nutrition coaching. I didn't even realize it was a thing. And I really liked kind of what the information was about. There was, again, a lot of correlation between what we did through probation to nutrition coaching. I worked with a coach after I became certified just to kind of see what the process was like. And she was kind enough to mentor me. And then I became a personal trainer just a few months ago, actually, because that was another thing that I truly always wanted to do, but I just held myself back from it. And I decided to pull the pin this year. So
Awesome. Yeah, they always say that before you can coach anybody else, you should have somebody coach you too. Did you find
yeah,
that
it
to
was
be valuable?
absolutely. Yeah, it was a very valuable experience. And one of the things when I was looking for a coach is that I really wanted someone to align with the same values that I had, and also align with the way I would want to coach folks. And she was, she had a non-restrictive approach to nutrition, and that's exactly what I do as well. So it was a really good coaching relationship, and she was kind enough again to mentor me when we were done with coaching too, and just gave me a lot of great insight and awareness. Like it was just a completely different world than what I'm used to. So I'm so thankful for everything that she offered me.
Awesome. What are some of
Mhm.
the biggest challenges your clients face?
I think the biggest challenge ultimately is definitely like mindset. I would say that encompasses all of the challenges in one. Um, some of those being like all or nothing thinking patterns. I'm sure you've heard the like, I'll start over on Monday kind of attitude. Like that can be really challenging. I think I think in this world of fitness and nutrition, we're also seeing a lot of before and after pictures. Like we think it's going to be a 30-day challenge or it's going to be something that we can change in 2 months. And the reality is this is a like health is a lifelong journey. So that the mindset around wanting something yesterday can be really hard to kind of take a step back and go things a little bit slower. Mhm.
Yeah. So how much do you see people like burning themselves out when you start working with them to try to
Oh
get
gosh,
to that goal real quick? Like,
yeah. Well, the nice thing with coaching is I feel like I kind of imagine it like a bowling alley where you have the bumpers on the sides. Like I feel like I'm the bumpers a little bit, so I don't try to get people to where they're going to burn out. And we do weekly check-ins, so we at least have opportunities like if they're veering maybe to where they're burning themselves out to get back. Um, I don't ever I would say I put safeguards in place so they don't burn themselves out in terms of like a fitness plan or any sort of nutrition plan. I want to do something that works for them, not give them a plan and have it try to fit into their life. I think that's where the burnout honestly kind of comes from, is trying to take something that you don't really do in your life and try to just shove it into your life.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that.
Hmm.
What habits are the most influential on our health?
Oh gosh, there are like five main habits, and they're probably not something that people necessarily think. So I call them like they're the big rocks versus the little rocks, right? So we talk about hydration, sleep, stress management, our nutrition, and our movement. Those are kind of the five most influential things that folks should be concerned about initially. A lot of times I see questions more so around like, what's the supplement I need, or what's like the perfect diet or something like that, when reality we should be focusing on all of those little things. And when I say something like movement, for example, we're talking just steps, like just basic getting some movement in throughout the day. It doesn't have to be this super hardcore cardio workout. Just small steps are important.
Like, how much of change could you see in like a lot of the people you work with? Because I know I do, by just them adding like more water and hydrating a little bit more and cutting out like the sodas and the other junk that they drink.
Yeah. It can, those little shifts can make huge monumental changes in the long run. Like some of the women that I work with, we'll talk about just adding 1 to 2,000 steps, just doing that for a few weeks and seeing how that goes, or just adding a little bit of water. Like those tiny little changes add up to like really big results. Now, initially, like when I talk about the 30-day, like 30-day drastic weight loss things, like you're not going to see that, right? They're going to be small improvements in your health overall. But yeah, to your point, those little things like reducing maybe the amount of soda we have, adding a little bit more water, maybe having more fruits and vegetables throughout the day, can add up to big changes. And I like that you asked that too, because that's a big focus of my coaching, is adding things in and making little shifts, not overhauling what you're doing overnight.
Yeah, I notice if you kind of overhaul everything, and I've done this in my own life a couple times because I'll
Yeah.
get burned out. It's like just take them small steps.
Yes. In fact, I just had a conversation with a client the other day about talking about like, what can you do when you're having the hardest day? Like I always like to think like, how can you make your habits so easy that even lazy you will do it? I don't really like the word lazy, but like, when you're having your hardest day of the week, when you're so busy, what are the things that you can do that have become so simple for you? So it's like water, for example. A lot of times water has been a pretty good habit. So okay, cool. Then let's just do water. It's just finding what you can do on your hardest day and then building from there.
I love it.
Mhm.
How important is a mindset and behavioral change to the long-term success with health and fitness goals?
Oh man, it's everything. Genuinely, it's everything. Like, I even talk about, I I recently started a TikTok and I've been getting better at reel. Like that's a whole other thing. But I even think with myself, like I mindset is the most important because it helps us to stay living in the gray area and not want to go back to that I'm going to go all in or I'm not going to go in at all, right? Like that it keeps us in that middle ground. So when I think about even some of my own challenges that I've had, like reflection is very important to understand what your triggers are. So knowing that I tend to use food for like every feeling that I have. If I'm bored, if I'm sad, if I'm, like stressed, whatever it may be. But having the mindset and awareness around that then gives you the opportunity to change it, to really kind of think about like what's going through my head right now. Is that true? Do I want to make this choice, or do I want to make another choice that aligns with what I really need right now? Um, so learning those skills to kind of constantly be reevaluating is really important.
Yeah, that's one thing I like to
Mhm.
touch on too with anybody I've ever worked with was we got to know your patterns first. So you got to kind of be self-aware and reflect on what your
Yes,
brain's actually telling you at certain times because it's all patterns that you have.
absolutely. Well, in self-sabotage, I think about that too. A lot of women and myself that I hear about, like, they're doing really well for a while, and then all of a sudden, like something happens, and when you start going underneath that, there can be a lot of self-sabotage, and they're simply like, well, I don't think I'm good enough to achieve this result, or I don't think I'm like, that's not for me. And you really have to dive into those limiting beliefs, and where they come from, and maybe who you learn them from, and try to dismantle them too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is calorie
My hope,
tracking what's that?
oh, go ahead. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Is calorie tracking necessary to see results?
It's not necessary. It's not necessary. It's a really good tool to kind of have awareness around what you're eating. With my coaching, I do recommend that folks track at least for 1 to 2 weeks, just to have awareness around kind of what they're eating, how many fruits and vegetables they're getting it in, fiber, all of those kind of things, protein, that sort of stuff. But in terms of long-term results, I would say it's more of just a tool, and not like, tracking should never be a long-term solution to maintaining results. Like, the goal is always to figure out some nutrition skills, like slowing down your eating, being aware of your hunger and fullness cues. Those are kind of, again, those like big rocks, and calorie tracking is just another tool that we can add on top of it.
Do you see anybody like use the calorie tracking and then maybe like as they're going on it's that becomes like their god, where they're kind of chasing that and like, oh, I gotta fix this a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, you're describing me. No, that's how I was before 2020, is that it was something I had done for 10 years. Like, and I use it as the guide, versus like listening to my body as the guide, and that being just the information I was getting, right? Like, it was using it on what I could eat and what I couldn't eat, all of those things. So there have been times, part of coaching is also understanding who calorie tracking might be beneficial for, and who needs to kind of stay away from it. And that, again, centers to someone's mindset. If someone's struggling with a lot of guilt and shame around food, then throwing calorie tracking in their face is definitely not a good approach, because it can just fuel that, and they can kind of start um, using it in a unhelpful manner.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What's a non-restrictive approach to nutrition, and why does it work?
Yeah. So ultimately, a non-restrictive approach simply just means like, we're allowing all foods. Um, in fact, there's a lot of other programs that the women that I've worked with have shared with me, that they've been told basically just eat, vegetables and meat, and that's it. And that's always backfired for them. And the reality is like, if we're using a restrictive approach, we're never really learning to live in the food climate in which we're currently in, right? Like, we live in a world that has candy. We have lovely desserts everywhere. We have fast food. We have all of the things in this world. We have processed food, all the stuff. And if we don't learn how to fit it, we're always going to be wanting it. Like, what's the phrase? If we avoid it, we're going to fixate on it all the time. So a non-restrictive approach just means looking at where we can add to help your overall day be more nutritious than what we can take away. So one concept that I talk about a lot with my clients is, eating what you want and adding what you need. And that's not my phrase. I should say that was someone off social media, and I would totally credit them if I could, but I thought it was amazing. So it's just enjoying kind of what you want, but then maybe pairing it with something you need. So if you want some chips, adding some veggies and dip on the side, or maybe some string cheese for added protein and fiber, and kind of then you have a nice, well-rounded snack.
Awesome. So you're kind of getting away from that, all them diet plans where it's like one size fits all things that everybody has.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, and I always think like, gosh, if someone told me to just eat meat and vegetables all day, every day, like, I'm going to rebound hard when I'm off that diet, right? And that's the whole point of what I do is, I don't want you to be done with me for coaching and rebound. I want to give you the skills so you, A, don't ever need to come back to me, and B, that you're able to utilize that long term, so there is no rebound. and we can kind of just avoid that step. But we also talk a lot about finding the thing, like just kind of looking at nutrition labels and finding what you enjoy and maybe better options. Like they have a lot of mini desserts. I know that sounds kind of silly, but like they have ice cream sandwiches that are smaller versions, like fun size candy bars. Like those things can fit in an overall nutritious diet very easily. So just a lot of times we're not taught that and how to do it. We're just taught how to avoid it all the time, which hasn't worked for a lot of us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know that doesn't work for me at times either, because I'll avoid it for so long. I'm like, man, I'm craving it really bad right now.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've heard you talk a lot about focusing on health beyond the scale. Why is that so important?
The scale is not nice to us all the time. um, the scale there's so much that we can attach to it. Like we can have a number in our head that we need to get down to. And maybe that was a number that we weighed in high school that might not even be possible for us because we have more muscle on our body. There can just be a number of reasons that it's not as helpful as we think. And one of the things is also not really motivating because we don't have a lot of control over what it does, because our weight fluctuates every single day based on a million different things. If we had more water, more food, like more carbohydrates in a day. So it can fluctuate constantly and never really give us an accurate representation of what we're doing. So there are some clients that I work with where the scale is used as one of the factors of measurement, but we also look at like energy levels. We focus mostly on those behavior-based goals, the things we can control. Like I don't have control over what the scale says, but I can control how many fruits and veggies I get, protein I get throughout the day. So we really look at those things more of an emphasis, and those body-based goals like scale weight and measurements, those will kind of trail after, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen so many times where people just become fixated on scales. Even when I go to the gym, everybody's like weighing themselves. I'm like, you won't see the immediate results all the time.
Yeah. Well, and that's just like oftentimes the scale is kind of lagging from what we're doing too, and that's admittedly a little bit anecdotally from my own body and just kind of watching what it does. Is like if I do really really great one week, I don't see that for almost 2 weeks, like in that one measurement. And if I'm somebody who, you know, gets very overwhelmed and frustrated because I'm not getting that instant gratification and I'm looking for it on the scale, like I'm giving up, if it's taken 2 weeks for me to see that. And so that's one thing I like to focus on more of the behavior-based goals. And are there other things like your energy levels and your sleep, and maybe you're handling stress better than you used to be, like those things that actually impact our lives more than just what the number is on a scale.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's the biggest mistakes people make when starting a fitness routine at home?
Oh, well, I would say in general, not necessarily just at home, but I'd be saying like going too hard, too fast, like hands down. If there's somebody who maybe hasn't worked out and they're like, I'm starting on Monday and I'm doing it 5 days a week, an hour-long session, it's doing too much way too fast. So really the importance is kind of easing into it. If you're somebody who maybe hasn't worked out in the past at all, then kind of slowly fitting it into your life versus on kind of like having that today's day one mentality, and going as hard as possible. That's one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they'll definitely burn themselves out within the first week
Oh yeah, yes,
trying that,
absolutely.
or
Yeah,
they'll
and
be too sore.
yes, and I try to focus more on strength training workouts at home, depending on what the person has in terms of equipment, um, versus like a cardio based or a HIIT program, because those are strength training. The more muscle we have, there's a number of things that are more beneficial to have muscle than doing kind of the cardio focus. But I can do a blend as well. But yeah, if I have a person coming to me, depending on where their fitness level's at, I'll kind of create a plan based on that. Because I don't want to burning yourself out, like you said, get super sore and then you can't do anything for a couple of weeks. Yeah, that's not fun. Not fun.
So it's your recommendation more or less than to do a strength-based training program, like with weights and everything. You think that has a greater upside than like cardio and all that?
Yeah, well, I think cardio is good for our heart and strength training is good for our muscles and our bone density and all that fun stuff. So I think, having a combination of both is good, but I focus more on strength training and then adding cardio in as if the person enjoys it, right? We can also help our bone density and doing all that other good stuff by just walking. So incorporating that into, but I would say it's a combination of all of those things. Now, it also depends on the person's, if they have any sort of goals, like if they're a runner and they're in an off season, then we'll focus on strength training because we'll be bringing cardio in a little bit later. But for overall health, it'd be all of the things, but not too much of the things.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah. Not
Yeah.
all the things all the time. Mm-hmm.
What types of services do you provide?
So right now I do one-on-one coaching. So I do just nutrition coaching. Then I also do fitness and nutrition coaching. So again, those are programs tailored to the person, fitness programs tailored to the person and the equipment that they have. I primarily focus on at-home workouts. I've worked out at home since 2020, since the pandemic. I built a gym in my basement with a few things. So that's mainly my focus. I do help individuals if they want a gym program. And right now I just have one-on-one coaching. My hope is to start a group coaching program here in the future. So in the next month or so, I plan to roll that out too.
Maybe using an app and everything to keep them all dialed in.
Yeah. I use I have an app that I use for everything. It's really great. It has everything all in one. We can communicate in there. Written check-ins are done in there. All the, if macros are their thing, that's in there. All the fitness programming is done in there. It's a one-stop shop. I love it. It works great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely keeps everything ready for you and all condensed. So
Yeah, nobody wants to download 50 apps anymore. That's try to keep those all together. It's a lot. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How important has personal development and upgrading your mindset been for you on your journey?
I would say it's single-handedly the most important thing I've done. One thing I've learned in starting the business is that if you're not okay being vulnerable, you will get nowhere. That's one thing that I've kind of held close to me is that you have to constantly do the scary thing all the time to grow and to push yourself beyond your limits. Otherwise, you're going to stay stuck. So mindset definitely for me was single-handedly the most crucial factor in where I'm at now.
Awesome. What is one book you'd recommend for personal development or mindset?
Just one? No, I'm just kidding.
And you can tell us as many as you want.
Gosh, there was one a long time ago that I read. Gosh, what was it called? It was The Road Less Traveled. And that one I really enjoyed because I remember the first opening statement was just about how life is difficult and accepting that life is difficult is kind of the first step in change. And then, so that one was really good. Atomic Habits, of course, is one that I'm a really big fan of as well. And I think those are the two, I'd say those are the two biggest ones that I can think of off the top of my head right now.
Yeah, and I like how in Atomic Habits, he talks just about like, hey, a small change. Hey, this first small change. Hey, put your workout shoes right by where you can see them and where you got to walk by them and grab them and put them on. And the next step, go to the gym. It's just like small steps.
Yeah, those things like 1% change every day. Yep, that's something that I say quite a bit, and it does make a big difference. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What are your short-term and long-term goals?
My short-term and long-term goals. My short-term goal is to kind of just continue to grow in my business. So that would be like one thing I know I alluded to earlier. It's like social media is still kind of a different animal for me. So I want to continue to get better at that, to be spreading my message. And long term, ultimately, is like I would really like to be able to do this full time, whatever that looks like. Like I feel like I'm kind of on a roller coaster and I don't know when it's going to end. So my long-term goal would be able to do this full time, ultimately.
Awesome. So what are you having trouble with on the social media?
Um, I'm getting better at it. I'll say that. But again, it's like being vulnerable, right? Like constantly feeling like um, putting yourself out there to just things. But you know what I've learned about that? Like I used to be really nervous about making reels, and now they don't make me nervous at all. And it's just one of those things where I'm constantly reminded that if you just continuously do the hard thing, it's no longer hard, you know? And so with social media, it's just kind of continuing to get better at that and have my messaging out in a way that people are understanding it and absorbing it easier. So we'll see. It's getting better. I'm getting better,
Yeah.
like when I look back at old posts, I'm like, okay, but a learning curve. I tell you what, when I started the
Yeah,
business,
it
that was not
is.
something that was not something I think I'd be so have to be so into, but here we are.
Yeah, that was one thing I had to learn how to do too, is posting every day, even though you don't want to.
Oh, right? Yeah, it's very and I resisted TikTok for a long time and I finally just got it and I was just like, all right, we can do this. We can do this. But oh yeah.
Awesome. How can people get a hold of you?
Um so you can of course go on my social media pages. It's Allyson Coaches, Allyson Coaches. And also my website is Allyson Coaches, www.allysoncoaches.com. There is a referral form that you can always fill out if you want to have a conversation. I offer a 45-minute free consultation call just where you can get to know me and I can get to know you. The purpose of that really is to make sure that, if you're committing to a program with me, I can help you the best way that I can and that our styles fit. So there's that opportunity. And otherwise, you can just follow me on social media and send me a
Awesome.
DM if you want.
Yeah, I'll post all that on the show notes too. So,
Fantastic.
is there anything we haven't covered that you want to talk about?
No, I don't think so, Ryan. This is a great conversation.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Okay, final question. What is one piece of advice you'd like to leave our listeners with about overcoming adversity?
Mm. Do the thing that scares you and excites you at the same time. Just say yes to it.
I love it. Great advice.
Mhm.
Well, Allyson, I want to thank you for coming on here and taking time out of your day to come drop some knowledge on all of us. It's really been a pleasure talking with you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ryan. It's been great.
Well, guys, that's going to be all the time we have here today. Remember, the only way to get what you want is go through the fire.